Okay, you're live with Clive, and today's topic is: could your watch hobby ever end? Could it come to a crashing halt? Could you decide to collect other things besides watches? Tell me, Clyde, would that ever be possible? Could you stop wristwatch collecting?
Yeah, it's quite possible, actually. I mean, if you have a good collection and you're happy with it, and your heart doesn't wander, and you're content, why not? The purpose would be to get the collection that you want and desire, wouldn't it?
But I mean, once you achieve your collection, maybe it's time then to sell up and retire.
True, or
try something else. Like, I mean, say for example, let me tempt you this way. Say for example, you got a nice collection there. You got quite a valuable collection. It's probably even more valuable than my collection. Okay.
Thanks. Well, on the other hand, you're the one who mentored me and shepherded me getting the most valuable pieces.
Say for example, a C1 came up. That's a Corvette, first model Corvette came up at a great price. You might want it. What do you think, Clive?
We talking like early 60s Corvette, basically?
We're talking 50s.
Oh.
First model.
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
Like a really minty original one? Never molested?
No.
There's no way in the world you'd be interested?
I'd be interested, but I wouldn't sell any watches to get it.
I see.
By the way, fist watch check. What are you wearing?
Yes. I'm wearing the Ingenua after that proud speak on the IWC Aqua Timer.
Nice. Nice.
What are you wearing? Ooh, no date sub. No date sub.
Yep, 2-line. No
2-line. Beautiful. Beautiful. I gotta tell you, Clive, could the hobby come to an end? I mean, I've had a few other hobbies. Do you have any other hobbies besides wristwatches? You got a few nice pens.
Pens? I collect antique razors.
Ah, I thought that was a joke. That was actually serious. You do actually collect. You're talking about the really, really old razors.
Yeah, actually, well, not really, really old. Not like not single blade, double-edged safety razors. I've got a nice little collection of Gillette adjustables.
Are they collectible?
Yeah, actually, yeah. The first edition that came out is called the Fat Boy.
Yes.
And it's short and stubby, popular. They have prototypes that are insanely priced if you can get a prototype, like what's called a red dot. The Toggle is a predecessor of the Fat Boy, which
how much does a Fat Boy cost to buy if I wanted to buy one?
It depends. It really, really depends. You can get them anywhere from, if you're lucky on a really good day, 30, or you could get them as much as a couple hundred.
I see.
Depends.
And a red dot, a prototype?
A couple of thousand, easy.
Wow. So there are actually people who collect razors for Gillette.
Right.
Is Gillette the best brand?
Well, Merkur, some of the early Merkurs, but it's, you know, I just kind of like the fact of this is when America actually produced
good stuff.
Right.
So
and, the big boy, though, I've got from 1920. I've got two big boys from 1929.
Yeah.
Chrome. They're both in chrome. They both have the chrome cases and the chrome razor blade holders, and those are they only made them for a year. Because back they had the big fella, which is an older design. Then they updated it for the Gillette new design. And the funny part is, it's really interesting. If you look at have you ever seen like a double-edged razor?
Yes.
Well, and there's a certain little pattern in there, right? In the top.
Yeah.
And the reason why they have that, it's just almost a matter of copyright law, of moves and counter moves by Gillette and its competitors, ending up with the design we have today. But the one from 1929 is really rare because at the time it cost $5. 1929 and 1930, and then I figured, this little downturn we're having might be a little bit more serious than we thought, and we're not selling a whole lot of $5 razors right now.
So how much was that in 1929? How much was $5? That's like what, $100 today? How much is that equivalent to?
Good question. Okay. Come on. Inflation calculator.
$5 in 1929 had the same buying power as $70.59 in 2017.
Right. But that's also when a lot of people are out of work as well. 1/3 or more of the population.
So tell me this, Clive, do you use this razor on yourself, or it's too valuable to use?
I do it, but my hands shake a little bit. That, you know, there's not a whole lot of them, and the value keeps it's like getting a really good deal on a luxury watch. The value goes up if you don't molest it or malign it or damage it.
So tell me this, Clive, razors. What else? What other crazy objects do you collect?
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Watches, razors, and pens. Fountain pens or ink pens? You don't like fountain pens, do you?
No, I actually have quite a number of fountain pens. I like them. It's just unfortunately with all the triplicate forms I have to use for work.
Ah, okay, it's not practical.
Right.
And how about as far as pipes? You were a pipe smoker. Do you still collect pipes?
No, I do not. I'm long over past that phase.
Okay. So, Clive, the question is, could the watch hobby come to a... I mean, I used to collect a few things. I used to collect vintage steam toys, vintage toy trains, tin plate toy trains. I used to collect fountain pens. I collected Louis Vuitton luggage, luxury luggage. I used to collect clocks, Cartier clocks. I had so many things, and sometimes, you know, you say to yourself,
this.
You might want to close up one hobby and put the money into another. I mean, I've also had photography. You also like photography. You got a full frame camera.
Right. And and a quarter frame, 3/4 frame camera, but yeah. There's really not much point to it with actually the smartphones photography is getting.
Did you ever do boudoir photography with your girlfriends? Boudoir?
No, but I filmed them naked a few times.
I see. They didn't like that, or what happened?
No, they didn't like that. They would not let me anywhere near them.
Oh, I see.
With the camera. With the camera. Yes. And sometimes in general.
Yes. I got to tell you, Clive, could you quit one hobby and go to another hobby? I mean, as a man, have you had different hobbies? The razor hobby, that's quite an interesting thing.
Right. And I still enjoy the razors. I have a Gillette Coronation razor, as a matter of fact.
What is the Coronet razor?
Coronation.
What is the Coronation razor?
It's from 1953.
Yeah. Oh, the British Royals.
Right.
I see.
And
what's so special about that?
Well, they only made it for a year to celebrate the coronation of Queen Elizabeth. And it was rhodium, and they didn't do a lot of rhodium razors at the time. Box paper. Yeah, box and razors.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. So, Clive, could you kill the watch hobby? Like, put the money into another hobby?
I don't know.
Some people collect Coca-Cola stuff. You know, Coca-Cola stuff is very popular.
Right.
Guns are very popular.
Right.
American muscle cars, American cars are very, very popular. Even things like hot rods are very popular. Could you shift into another hobby?
I could, and that's one of the nice things about buying Rolex and having a Jarb. But on the other hand, you know, one of the nice things about watches, I can literally and take the watch with me anywhere. I can enjoy it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
A gun collection, not so much.
No.
Your house, the gun range, and that's pretty much it.
And other collectors' place.
Other collectors, right? But yeah, I mean, it's. Oh, it's also asking me if I like the Loudmouth Tim episode.
Yes, you can be honest.
Okay.
Be honest.
No, actually, I mean, it seemed nice enough. I mean, and I went to school outside of Fitchburg myself. I flew into Fitchburg for my son's high school graduation. So, yeah, seemed nice. But the other thing is he really got out of shape about people protesting the Confederate flag.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Yankee. You're a fucking Yankee. It wasn't your flag. It was never your flag. So what gives? Sorry, but I mean, sorry, but I actually had ancestors that fought for the Confederacy. And I never understood the policy of putting up a bunch of monuments to a war we lost. But anyway, but for a Yankee, he's a nice guy.
Yes. Yes. I wanted to ask you, Clive, I have no idea about this Civil War. I have no idea what the two sides, I think it was about slavery, wasn't it?
Slavery and states' rights, basically.
Okay. See, we never did American history much in our schools, see? But
we barely did in ours. We were lucky to get, generally we would study American history for a year, and we were lucky to get to the Civil War.
I see. Because I love history. I actually really do love history. History is it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. And
my undergraduate degree is in history, actually.
Oh, wow. What sort of history?
Well, I went to a small college, not a university, so it wasn't really big enough to give a specialized degree. But I would say European history. But then again,
what time period? What time period?
19th, 20th century.
Okay, beautiful.
I would probably even say military history more than anything else.
Wow, fantastic. Now, Clive, I've got to ask you this: if the hobby did go right.
Right.
I kind of think, I have gone in and out. I'm not a super loaded guy, right? So I have had to sell things off. Some things that I've sold off, I had a very nice Rolex collection. Remember, I had the President, I had the Explorer 2, I had the Date Sub 16610, and I had the Datejust, the 16013 two-tone Datejust.
Right.
Actually, it was a champagne dial too. I'll just add that in there too.
With diamonds, I think. You've also had that.
No. This one wasn't a diamond. That was my collection in the late 90s. And then I sold that off because of financial reasons. And I went very heavily into vintage train sets.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some relationship problems, and I spent a lot. It's a long story, as you know. But I got to tell you, those now are they've dropped a lot. The money has dropped. They have dropped a lot. Those things, some collectibles have become not so valuable, like some of these collectibles you'd think. Antiques.
Well, yeah. For instance, I think even the old Mustangs, I think they're no longer as popular as they once were, like the original ones.
Yes, 1960s. They were very classic.
Oh, they still are. But it's no longer quite commanding the premium that they once did. You can still get them. You'll still pay a pretty penny, but nothing like what they were paying, say, 20 years ago for them.
Wow. Amazing. And because they were always thought they'd keep going up and keep going up, keep going up. But you're saying they've flattened a bit.
Right. Slowed a little bit. So what happened if luxury, I mean, okay. Well, now if you, of course you're an idiot. You want to buy something, you want to buy, and one of the reasons why you've been really invaluable to people just on the internets is just the advice, a simple way to collect watches,
yes.
luxury watches,
yes.
and to get it and to get them reasonably. So that way, if you have a change of mind or you discover you not really into the hobby, or that watch really looked good on the websites, but I don't like it on my wrist. That way, you can get out of it without getting just the tip of the fist instead of down to the elbow. But on the other hand, but I don't think you really want to view watches as an investment like a 401k. That's insane.
No.
But okay,
you want things that give you pleasure. You still want pleasure, don't you?
Exactly. And okay, let's just say the bottom falls out of Rolex, and the inconceivable happens, or the entire luxury watch market just fades away. Doesn't mean that they're not still freaking cool.
Yes, that's a very good point there. It doesn't mean they're not still freaking cool. And look, I think in our lifetime, we can only talk about our lifetime. I mean, in 200 years' time, who knows what's going to happen with watches, right?
Right.
But I think in our lifetime, how long have we got left there? With our weight, your smoking, my diet, we've probably got about 20 to 30 years left, haven't we, Clive?
35. You're forgetting the green smoothies, man.
You're forgetting
the green smoothies.
Yeah. Okay, Clive.
Antioxidants and greens and low-fat yogurt all in one.
Ooh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And
if you mix it right, it almost doesn't taste like ass either.
And you also put a big teaspoon of sugar in that as well? Tablespoon?
Well, no, actually, my whole thing is I've got a couple of some sugar-free Kool-Aid I use as a mixing agent.
Okay, sugar-free Kool-Aid. Okay. Clyde, I got to tell you, if the hobby ends, so what? Doesn't matter. Well, I don't think you'll see Rolexes going for $100. I mean, the hobby could. It's like you said with the Mustangs. They're not pulling a premium, but they're still a pretty penny. You don't buy one for $5,000. You don't buy a Minter for $5,000, do you?
And it might even have the opposite effect. Let's just say the Rolex shuts its doors. There's still plenty of people, authorized third parties, that can work on them. The value might even go up.
Yeah, I don't think Rolex would ever shut. They're kind of, well, you never say never. Never say never. Never say never.
But it's ingenious the way they set themselves up as a nonprofit, because they don't have to answer to shareholders. They don't have to disclose any figures publicly.
No.
So, yeah. And actually, the quartz crisis, the reason why a lot of competitors went belly up is the demands to shareholders.
Yes, very true.
Rolex could always say, well, okay, we're going to batten down the hatches. Yeah, we're in the suck right now, but let's cut expenses, batten down the hatches. Let's cut back on production watches and ride it out. And we won't release any figures. We won't release any statements. And eventually, once the shifting tide shifts back, start back up again.
I think watches itself there. Look, anything can end, right? That's true, it can. But I still think they're so cool-assed, aren't they? You know, they are very, very cool-assed. And I really do think watches are they're a sort of thing which will, I hope they kind of hang around there. Who are you leaving your watches to when you depart this world? Who are you going to leave them to?
Oh, I don't know.
The Parniff, that's who. Sorry.
Yeah, like you're going to outlive me.
Sure. So I mean, are you going to leave them to your children? Would you leave them to friends? Who would you leave your watches to?
I hadn't even thought about it. I realize I'm not as young as I used to be, but I realize conceptually, intellectually, yes, I'm not gonna, I'm past the halfway mark. God, I hope I'm past the halfway mark. I don't want to live till I'm 100.
You don't.
But I
Why do you
hadn't thought
say
of
that? Why is that? What's wrong with living to 100?
I don't want, who wants frail, old, either Alzheimer's or whatever, and you're saying it jabbering away jabbering away like a monkey in a nursing home somewhere where you're strapped to a bed, or not being able to, or lying somewhere, not being able to wipe your own ass. Yeah, if it's a choice between living that long and going out earlier, I think I will take going out earlier. Of course, that might change. My perception, my opinion might change in 20 years. Don't get me wrong.
Clive, your watches, would you like to see them go to somebody who sells them or keeps them, or what would you like to see happen?
Well, like I said, the problem is I only have 2 kids, and shoot, so that's way too many for 2 kids.
Do they like watches? You got a boy and a girl, haven't you?
Yeah. My son's studying to be an electrician. He's a nerd, so he actually likes the
Milgauss. Give him the Milgauss.
And of course, my daughter wants the president.
Wow, that's great. That's really good. But tell me this, Clive, with your hobby itself there, would you like them to be, would you like them to go to a collector or someone who just sees them as valuable? What's your kind of...
To a collector, of course.
Yes.
I'd like, it's like I'd like to see them,
treasured.
Treasured. Yes, thank
Treasured.
you. I was going to say cherished and respected, but treasured, yes.
Treasured, because you really do love them. They've brought a lot of happiness to you, haven't they?
Absolutely, and I think they could. I think they could to other people.
Yes, I think this is.
And like I said, I'm just looking at my Submariner, and just my no date, and it's like I just lost in thought there for a microsecond, just because it is just so pretty. It is so pretty.
I'm looking at, as I'm speaking to you, I'm looking at, I'm wearing my IWC and I'm looking at my Breguet. And you know something, I got to tell you, I just feel happy. I got endorphins in my brain that are going, so beautiful. Let me say this to you. How many friends do you have? This is without getting too personal. How many friends do you have?
Maybe 4.
Are any of them into watches?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. They collect watches?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, they just have the typical, just the typical watch. Either one,
I see. Do they collect things themselves there? Do they actually collect things? Out of your friends, we don't want to get too personal, but does one of them collect, say, guns or Corvettes or anything?
One collects antique medical equipment.
Yes.
Being a retired pathologist.
Yeah.
By the way, Valfanel Respectus. Another one, literature, fairly rare pieces of literature.
Okay.
And the other one, ex-wives. Kind of has a collection like yours.
Ex-wives is the collection, or
yes, collects ex-wives.
He collects ex-wives.
I'm working on a decent collection myself, but I'm trying to get out of the hobby.
Yes, I can understand that. You don't need to buy.
You want to talk about an expensive collection? That is an expensive collection.
The only problem with that hobby is that you can't, or you don't have to buy a brewery just because you like beer. Remember that, Clive.
Right.
So the hobby, how do you tell people you collect watches? Have you mentioned it to many clients or just associates in your life? Oh, by the way, I collect luxury wristwatches.
Well, you know, actually my homies, or my professional colleagues do notice.
Mm-hmm. What have they said to you? Geez, Clive, they're paying you too much. You seem to wear a different expensive wristwatch every day of the week.
And I say, no, I didn't buy mine new at the AD because I watch Archie Luxury.
And what do they say? Who the hell is Archie Luxury?
That's pretty much always what they say. A couple of them basically have gotten back.
And what have they said? That foul-mouthed guy?
Yeah, actually, pretty much. He's entertaining. He's entertaining.
I see.
Actually, and I was wondering about that. If someone is starting out with collecting luxury wristwatches, or is unsure about what to do, how to start out, or the next move to make, what is a good resource for that person to turn to?
The best resource is for $50 US. You can have a 1-hour phone call with Archie Luxury himself. $50 US, 1 hour on Skype or WhatsApp.
Absolutely. And actually,
that's $50 well spent. You make a mistake horologically, $50 is nothing.
$50
is nothing.
$50 can save you hundreds.
Thousands, Clive.
Thousands.
I got to ask you this. Do your watches, have you actually mentioned watches to strangers? Have people said to you?
I do notice. I actually do notice. And so it's kind of
say anything yourself?
I said, oh, what kind of watch is that? And they said, oh, it's a Tag Heuer. And I just sat there and smiled and said, that's a pretty watch. And then I just go on my way.
Okay. Anyone with a Rolex?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what do they say? Hey, that's a nice watch. It's a Rolex.
I'll say, oh, hey, that's a nice GMT you've got there.
And what do they say? It's a Rolex.
Well, no, one or two, but actually, usually they're impressed. You know what the watch is.
Have you struck up conversations with people in the wild about watches?
Oh yeah, always.
What do you say? What do you say?
Well, that's a cool looking watch. What kind is it?
I see.
And any guy is always, it doesn't matter what it is. Any guy always wants to talk about his watch.
I see. Okay. And what do they say to you? Yes. What's some good? Have you established some good contacts like this?
Yeah, broken the ice and just talk to. I mean, so that way you get past the awkwardness of talk afterwards. And sometimes they'll be like, did you found any watches lately? Or I'm having a problem with this. What do you think? Or I'm thinking about this next.
Wow. So watches, a lot of men do like their watches.
Yes, absolutely. It's the only jewelry we're allowed to have unless you're Italian.
Yes, that's a very, very good point there. Have you in your professional life come across other people who are watch fanatics?
A couple, and usually, and the ones that are usually will contact me, and they're Pontiff heads as well. They also are fans of the channel.
You've actually met people who do know who I am.
Nasty Vinyl Cody over here, yeah.
Yes.
As a matter.
Hi, Nasty Vinyl Cody. That's really cool.
Yeah, he's got the Polar Explorer, and he wanted it because he wanted one like you had.
Oh,
he also has he has an Omega Speedmaster Man on the moon as well. And when you basically mentioned a couple of times, you could get away with just having 2 of these as your only watch collection and be perfectly content and happy. He was literally almost beaming with pride about that one.
Well, I think it's a lot of truth in that. I think that is 2 watches you could very much do there. I got to tell you, in all honesty, I think with watches themselves they are damn expensive. Like if you're a young man without or you got a family, to be able to buy multiple watches like you've done, Clive, it's just not possible, is it?
No.
Even if they are secondhand, it's bloody. How would you be able to pull money out to buy these type of things? It's just not possible, is it?
No. And the older guys will have one Rolex.
Yes.
And that is the watch they wear day in and day out. I'm trying to think, Explorer 2, he had it installed like a really elaborate Southwestern, like turquoise, because, Southwest,
Yes.
turquoise and silver bracelet. And it was like one of the, it was an Explorer 2 cream dot with a black dial, but very, very, creamy almost. Nice little patina with it.
Wow, that's amazing. There was a cream dial, you know that. That's not patina. There was actually a real cream dial, which you could get on the first Sapphire Explorer 2s, a 16550. Clive, I wanted to ask you, in your world in Oklahoma, do many people notice your watches as you're walking down the street? Said, "Hey, is that a Rolex?" Have they said things to you like that?
Oh yeah.
What do they say?
Yeah. Cool. I mean, is that a Rolex or is that a real Rolex? Is that a real Rolex? Yeah.
Yes.
Have
you had attractive girls ask you that?
No.
Okay.
Not really. No.
Okay.
It's other guys. It's other guys.
It's other guys. Okay, that's okay. But you must admit, if a guy comes to you, have you had guys ask you about your watches?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, what I've always found is that, when you're in a work environment, right, they try and trap you. Like I've had people say to me, "Ah, is that a Rolex?" You say, "Yes, it is. I quite like Rolex." You tell them a little bit about yourself. "Yes, I actually like wristwatches. I have a few." Then they inevitably they say, "Oh, how much did it cost? What's it worth?" And then it goes through the plant like wildfire. Do you know Paul's got these expensive watches? Did you? It always, they just want gossip fodder. They want fodder for the gossip. The gossip.
Well, yeah, but you also turn that around. It's just like, yeah, I did my research. I bought it secondhand, and I got I saved up my money for a long time, and I found a good deal, and I was able to jump on it.
I got to tell you, I used to work at this place, right?
Right.
And this is with KBR. And I remember there was this guy, like I was doing IT support. I was an IT desktop analyst. That was my title. Okay.
Right.
Which is kind of a mid-tier, lower tier in the organization, because they were an engineering company, basically.
Right.
And I remember this one older French guy. He would have been, when I say older, he'd probably 10, 15 years older than me. And I think he had a Rolex. And I said to him, I said, "Nice Rolex." And this is an interesting story, because he said, yeah, he told me the story about this Rolex. And he told me a story how he inherited his father's Rolex and it was stolen. And he was really upset about it. And then I said to him, I said, "Yes, I quite like watches. If you like, one day I can show them to you." I had about 5, the Archie 5. Yeah. I had 5 of them, right? 5 of them, simple watches. And I remember I showed them to him, and he nearly shit himself. He said, "What? You got 2 Patek Philippe's?" I had the AP and a Breguet and the Reverso. Ever since then, even though in the company he was higher status job than me, he started, instead of calling me Paul, he used to always call me Mr. Pluta from that moment onwards, because my watches, he couldn't understand. These were like, wow. I mean, I think he possibly had the wrong idea of what the values were. Like he thought they were, they were not cheap. They were not cheap. I kid you not. They were not cheap. But I think he thought they were like $50,000 each. He possibly had thought they were, but who knows? Who knows? He was a bit of a watch guy himself there. I remember one time I was in a job interview, right?
Right.
I knew this guy before, and I noticed he was wearing a Vacheron Constantin, which a Vacheron Constantin, nobody notices a Vacheron Constantin, do they?
No. You know, it's just a generic gold watch.
I said to him, is that a Vacheron you're wearing there? And I actually was offered the job. I turned it down because it was...
Because he was wearing a Vacheron Constantin.
No, I turned it down because it was overseas, and at that stage in my life, I was married, and it's a long story, but at least the job was offered to me. I'll say that much. And I got to tell you, in all honesty, wristwatches, it's quite interesting. Sometimes it's good not to say too much. I've lost jobs because of watches. Have you?
No, I've not.
I've been fired for watches.
I've maybe fired for being late. That's probably not having a watch.
Oh, I see. I got fired just for surfing at work, you know. But, you know, I remember this smart-ass guy had a sub, and I had the gold sub. I said, can I see your sub? And I said to him, that's not a Submariner. I'll show you a Submariner. I had the 30-dial gold sub.
Right. No, you can't. No, you don't
Can't
turn
really
into.
do.
No, you're going to make enemies that way.
Yeah, it didn't last long. I wasn't renewed. I was asked to leave. So, but that was okay. It doesn't really matter in life's rich tapestry.
But you turn that around. You could have turned that around and said, you know, I really thought about this one, and I got this one instead. And you know, if I would have had it to do over again, I kind of like yours better.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Clive. I've got to tell you, in all honesty,
and then politely decline if he offers a trade.
I got to tell you honestly, I really do love the watches. I think in my country, what's very popular is, I suppose, cars are very popular.
Right.
Jet skis, kind of lifestyle type options are very popular. Those sort of things are very popular. Houses are very expensive where I live. That's the problem. So a lot of people don't have a lot of disposable cash because houses are so dear. But in your world, their houses are quite affordable. I just can't believe how cheap houses are in Oklahoma.
But I think wages are probably comparatively depressed comparatively. So, you know, as Simon Garfunkel once said, either way you look at it, you lose.
Yes. Either way you look at it, you lose. But you've got an amazing collection there. It's the thing I love about watches is that, see, you can
Now, what's a good way if someone else wants to amass what's a good way if someone else wants to amass an amazing collection?
Best way is pay me for a bit of advice, $50 US. I'll talk to you and I'll guide you, give you some pointers as to which way you should go, what brands to steer clear, which brands to buy secondhand. And, you know, I try my best to give you good, honest advice, honest, wholesome advice.
You have steered me away from so many dogs. I would have had a kennel by now.
Well, it's sort of now you don't even need my advice now. You sort of steer pretty well. In fact, you've kind of gone into areas I probably wouldn't waste my time in, but they're cheap enough, little military pieces. That's okay. It's not a big problem there. But Clive, I got to tell you, it's watch collecting. I think it's here for a little bit longer. What do you think?
Oh yeah. It really kind of depends upon the luxury watchmakers themselves.
I got to,
you know, I hope they get their crap together. I mean, the days of raising prices 10 to 15% every year for minor upgrades, that might be coming to an end.
I got to tell you, do you think Rolex? You tell me this honestly. In my opinion, let's look at a basic man, right? So he's 25 to 30, right?
Right.
He wants to buy a decent watch, right?
Okay.
This is a man, not a kid. This is a man, right?
Right.
See, where I am in Australia, you would say, okay, what's a good man's watch? Okay, say a no-date sub,
right,
or even a Milgauss, or a. You're looking at just under 10,000 Aussie dollars. Okay, so that's about 8,000 US, 7 to 8,000 US. Okay. In your opinion, would you agree with that? That's what a man who's looking for a decent watch, that's what they'd have to spend on a Rolex.
right.
Do you honestly think that's a lot of money, or is that just nothing?
Yeah,
that's nothing.
No, that is even the there's a guy I know, and he's a sharp guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he went to the AD and he said, I probably shouldn't have done it that way, but he bought a date just, smooth bezel date just with an oyster bracelet, and it is a nice watch.
Do you get a discount?
No, he completely got fisted.
Yeah.
But he's only got one Rolex.
Yeah.
And the funny part is that I've had younger guys. Some of the younger guys ask my advice, and just kind of passing on what I've learned.
I mean, that's quite an expensive hobby, isn't it? Let's be honest. If you're a young man, say mid to late 20s, to fork out 7,000 or 8,000 US dollars, that's a big ask, right, isn't it?
Well, that's true, but also it also kind of depends.
I mean, nagging wife at home isn't going to let you do too many of them. She's not going to let you buy 4 of them, is she? Or 5, is she?
Probably not unless you hide it very, very well. But on the other hand, if you get, and like I said, it depends a little bit. And you're asking, which watch should a lawyer buy? And that depends on the lawyer, his practice, and his clients. But if you're doing criminal defense, actually, 2 things that people notice are your watches and your shoes. And a lot of and the younger guys doing criminal defense will go completely all flash because they want the type of clientele. They're attracted to that. They're drawn to it.
Wow, like a moth to a light.
Exactly. It's like, well, if the guy can afford that watch, that's a hell of a nice watch. If he can afford that, he must be a decent lawyer.
Yes. You are a very decent lawyer. With that said, Clive, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. Let's wrap this baby up. We'll chat tomorrow. You want to chat tomorrow? Do some live shows tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and remember, guys, if you want my advice, look in the description because I give phone advice. $50 US an hour, and you can stop